Have you ever been standing by the side of the road when a motorcycle absolutely screams past you? As it speeds toward you, it has this piercing, high-pitched whine, but the exact split second it passes you, bam, that pitch instantly drops into a low, rumbling roar. Why exactly does it do that? Why does it sound like ee-yo? Well, that abrupt shift in frequency from high to low is not some auditory illusion playing tricks on your ears. It's actually a very real, measurable physics phenomenon, and it governs not just sound, but everything from police radar guns to the expansion of the universe itself.
By the end of this explainer, you are going to understand exactly how this works. We'll cover the Doppler effect explained, visualizing the sound waves, calculating the Doppler shift, moving sources and observers, sonic booms and bow wakes, and wrap up with key takeaways and summary. Basically, you'll get the core concept, the exact formula behind it, and how this exact same physics creates earth-shattering sonic booms.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the Doppler Effect Explained. We'll start with a solid definition of what we're actually hearing. We call this phenomenon the Doppler effect. Simply put, it's an alteration in the observed frequency of a sound due to the motion of either the source of the sound or the observer listening to it. The actual mathematical change in that frequency is what we call the Doppler shift. Now, this was named after an Austrian physicist, Christian Doppler, and back in the 1800s, Doppler literally tested this out by putting musicians on a moving open train car. He had them play specific notes while speeding past observers standing next to the tracks, and they scientifically recorded the changes in pitch. It's pretty wild to think about. Moving on to Section 2, visualizing the sound waves. Because to truly grasp why the pitch changed for those folks on the train tracks, we've got to visualize what sound waves are actually doing in the air. Look at how we can illustrate the invisible here. For a stationary sound source, the waves spread out equally in perfect concentric spheres. The distance between each wave, the wavelength, is totally identical in every single direction. But the moment the source starts moving, everything changes. I want you to imagine a snowplow pushing forward through deep snow. Just as that plow forces the snow to compress and bunch up at the very front of the truck, a moving sound source compresses its own sound waves right ahead of it. The waves get squished together. This creates a shorter wavelength and therefore a higher pitch for anyone standing in front of it. Conversely, behind the moving source, the waves get stretched out, creating a lower pitch. Wait, here is a really common point of confusion for students. What happens if the sound source is perfectly still and you are the one doing the moving? Well, the exact same effect occurs. If you ride a bicycle quickly toward a stationary warning bell, you are physically plowing through those wave crests faster than if you just stood still. You're hitting more waves per second, so your ear perceives a higher frequency. All right, Section 3, calculating the Doppler shift. Now that we've got the basic visual concept down, let's translate this into the actual mathematical formula you'll need. Here is how you calculate it for a stationary observer and a moving source. Step 1, you take the original source frequency, which we call Fs. Step 2, you multiply that by a fraction, where the top number is the fixed speed of sound in the air, Vw. Step 3, you divide that by the speed of sound plus or minus the speed of the source, Vs. So, to put it all together, the observed frequency equals the source frequency multiplied by the speed of sound divided by the speed of sound plus or minus the speed of the source. Now, you might be asking, wait, plus or minus? How on earth do I know which one to pick? Well, here is your golden rule of thumb. Use the minus sign in the denominator for an approaching source. Think about the math for a second. Subtracting in the denominator makes the bottom number smaller, right? Which makes the overall fraction larger. This perfectly calculates why an approaching train sounds higher in pitch. If the source is receding or driving away, you use the plus sign. Adding to the denominator makes the fraction smaller, proving mathematically why the pitch drops. Let's make this easier with a real-life example. Suppose a train with a 150 Hz horn is moving at 35 meters per second right toward you. The speed of sound today is 340 meters per second. If we plug this into our formula using the minus sign for approach, the frequency jumps up to 167 Hz. But when it passes you and speeds away, we swap to the plus sign and the frequency drops to 136 Hz. Notice something critical here. The shifts are not perfectly symmetric. The pitch jumps up by 17 Hz on approach, but drops by only 14 Hz as it drives away. That asymmetry is a huge, key feature of the Doppler shift. Section 4, moving sources and observers. Now let's test your understanding with a scenario that constantly trips people up. Okay, we just calculated what the person standing on the side of the tracks hears.
But what frequency is observed by the train's engineer, who is sitting right there inside the cabin of the moving train, listening to that exact same 150 Hz horn? Think carefully about the relative speed between the horn mounted on the roof and the engineer sitting right underneath it.
If you said 150 Hz, you hit the nail on the head because the relative velocity between the engineer and the horn is 0. They are moving at the exact same speed in the exact same direction. If you were to plug this into the full equation for a moving source and moving observer, the velocities mathematically cancel out completely. There is no Doppler shift. This is exactly why you can have a perfectly normal sounding conversation with your friend while riding together in a car going 70 miles per hour on the highway.
Section 5. Sonic booms and bow wakes. Now let's push this physics concept to the absolute extreme limits. What happens when an airplane flies faster than the sound waves it produces? Go back to our formula for just a second. As the speed of an airplane approaches the speed of sound, the denominator in our fraction approaches 0. Mathematically, the frequency shoots toward infinity. In reality, what's happening is the plane is moving forward so incredibly fast that every single sound wave it emits gets stacked directly on top of the previous one. This massive constructive interference creates a dense cone of pressurized air. When that shock wave cone finally drags across the ground and hits your ears, it unleashes a destructive, window-shattering sound. And that is what we call a sonic boom. And sonic booms are really just one extreme example of a broader phenomenon known as a bow wake. A bow wake happens anytime a source moves faster than its wave propagation speed. Ever seen a duck swimming really fast across a pond, leaving a V-shaped trail of ripples right behind it? The duck is swimming faster than the water waves can travel, creating a bow wake. We hear it when a space shuttle re-enters the atmosphere, creating dual sonic booms. We even see it in nuclear physics. When subatomic particles travel faster than the speed of light can travel through water, they create a visual sonic boom of blue light, which we call Cherenkov radiation. Section 6. Key takeaways and summary. Before we finish, let's summarize the key points you absolutely need to remember from today. The absolute crucial rules are these. An approaching source compresses waves, giving you a shorter wavelength and a higher frequency. A receding source stretches those waves out, resulting in a longer wavelength and a lower frequency. And if that source outruns its own wave speed completely, you get the constructive interference of a sonic boom or bow wake. Just remember, the greater the relative speed between the source and the observer, the greater the Doppler shift will be. Now let's connect this back to real life, because this isn't just theory for a physics exam. We rely on the Doppler shift every single day. Doctors use it in ultrasound waves to measure how fast blood is flowing through your heart. Police officers use Doppler radar guns, bouncing microwaves off your car to see if your speed causes a high-frequency shift. Meteorologists even use Doppler radar to track the exact motion and rotation of severe storms, giving us crucial advance warnings for tornadoes. But maybe the most mind-blowing application looks away from Earth entirely. Because light behaves as a wave, it also experiences the Doppler effect. Astronomers analyzing distant galaxies realized that the light reaching us is actually shifted to a lower frequency, meaning a longer wavelength, pushing the light toward the red end of the visual spectrum. This red shift literally proves that these galaxies are speeding away from us. The exact same physics that explains why a passing motorcycle changes pitch is the very tool astronomers use to prove our entire universe has been expanding since the Big Bang. Think about that cosmic connection the next time